Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. This is the 2021 Town Election Forum. I'm Brent Sandmeyer. I'm president of the Chamber of Commerce. We are hosting this forum. I would also immediately like to give a shout out to Jagger and iTech Solutions for their help with the live stream and the recording of this. This will be a recorded meeting. It will be available later if you can't stay for the entirety, or something incredibly interesting happens and you want to show all your friends, it'll be on YouTube. So we have all of our candidates here. We will give everyone a chance to make some opening remarks. Then we have questions that have been submitted by people. And if you have more questions, you can submit them. I think at the bottom of the web page where you're watching this live stream, there's a bar there you can press to submit a question, and we'll do our best to get as many questions answered as we can. So with that, and with time being of the essence, I just want to acknowledge that this meeting and this forum is taking place. We respectfully acknowledge that we are situated within Treaty 6 territory, the homeland of the Métis, Dene, Saulteaux, and Cree people, and part of a trading route and gathering place for other Indigenous nations. So I'm going to open the floor. We've discussed it's a randomized order that people will give their opening remarks. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Norm Noel first.
Thank you, Brent. Good evening. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Norm Noel. I'm a current member of the St. Paul Town Council, having served on council for 10 years. I would like to start by thanking the St. Paul District Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's forum and thanking all of you who have taken the time to come and listen to the forum. Who is Norm Noel, you might ask? I'm a 55-year-old, third-generation St. Paulian. Could not be more proud to call St. Paul my family's home. With my wife, Lisa, we have raised our daughter, Shalane, here, and currently have her off to university taking psychiatric nursing. This is something that may come helpful to me in the future. I've worked at Zeroni Motors in the service and sales department for 30 plus years until I had to take a personal leave for reasons I wish not to disclose at this time. I also continue to run my mobile DJ service 45 Special as I have for the last 40 years. I've been fortunate to have helped so many great organizations in our community fundraise over those years. Some of these organizations include the St. Paul Gymnastics Club, the St. Paul Animal Shelter, Champions for Change, and the Pink Heart campaign, just to name a few. I will, if re-elected, continue to bring my common sense attitude and hard work ethic, as I always have, to the various boards and committees I have served on. I will continue to be actively involved in the town's budget and strategic planning in hopes of getting our citizens the best use of their tax dollars. We as a council have accomplished so much over the last 4 years, from securing funding and getting our town's state-of-the-art wastewater management facility, which will serve our community for decades to come. We have also been able to get our garbage bin program up and running with the hope of eventually having a true recycling and composting program in place. We were able to secure a ladder truck for our fire department, which helps keep our community safer. We were also able, with the help of Alberta Environment, secure a safe waterway on the west end of town to help with the storm water management there. Yes, we have accomplished a lot over the last 4 years, but there still is a lot more to do. If re-elected, I hope to continue to move our community forward in a safe and positive direction. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak with you, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Next up, we have Dwight.
Yeah, thank you, Brent. And again, thanks to the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to come to each and every one of you this evening. Good evening, fellow candidates, moderator, and to you joining us here online. I'm Dwight Weeb, candidate for one of 6 positions on St. Paul Town Council. You might remember me also from the days I spent at 1310 CHLW as Danny White. When I was at the radio station, a lot of time was spent promoting this community. Things like 4-H, local sports, seniors events, and of course the annual LRA rodeo finals. And in so doing, I became more and more appreciative of St. Paul as a people kind of place. I had the extreme pleasure of being on town council before this last term and saw what can be accomplished. Among other things, during my tenure as a town councilor, we were able to bring about most of what you see on the east side of town, including a brand new wellness center. We brought in safety lights to cross the road at the co-op and Extra Foods, brand new downtown sidewalks with trees. And one of my personal highlights was being a part of the original development of the St. Paul Youth Council. And now I'm very happy to see how it has developed and grown. We can accomplish great things when we put our minds to it. And there's so many possibilities for this town of St. Paul. St. Paul has also changed a lot. Even in the last 4 years, we've become much more diversified. And you can see the growth in multiculturalism all around us. We as a town have an opportunity to benefit from this. So I say, let's embrace this and make everyone feel like this is their town. I really love it when we can hold multicultural events, as it brings us all together as one to enjoy what each culture has to offer. Everyone matters in St. Paul. Let's talk a little bit about a safer community. It's one of the hot issues currently, and it needs to be addressed. If someone says they don't feel safe walking in their own hometown, or that there's just too much crime, we need to get into discussions about this immediately. There's absolutely no reason in a town like St. Paul that a family should not feel safe and happy to bring up their family here. I'm most interested in hearing your ideas about this. Having spent time on town council before, I also understand governance and respect the roles of councilors and the CAO have. It is absolutely not my place to get involved in the day-to-day operations of the town, as town council has one employee, a more than capable CAO who can handle that. I'm very level-headed guy, which I think most who know me will agree. And I tell my fellow councilors this because I do not come into this with a personal agenda, but rather want to look at the big picture and work towards a better St. Paul in the future. Economic development also continues to be a
Okay,
hot.
thank you, Dwight. That's your 3 minutes.
All right, sorry.
Okay. Next up, we have Nathan, and then it'll be Joe.
Thank you, Brett. Serving our community is not only a joy for me, it's a passion. What I believe the key component to being a good town councilor is to come to meetings with ideas, with questions, and with an open mind. One thing people know about me is that I'm willing to speak my mind, express my ideas, and listen to others. This is important because our community is changing. Change is the way we move our community forward, whether it's updating an old land use bylaw, adding a stop sign, or negotiating a new funding agreement. We can't stand still, and I don't think we want to in this COVID world today. So let's move forward. With a changing community, what a changing community looks like to me is a growing population, welcoming new people, attracting young adults with educations and experiences. A changing community needs to utilize new technologies like AI, autonomous street sweepers, LED lighting, waste to energy solutions. These changes create efficiencies, they add jobs, they improve services, and they save money. Change is expanding our unstructured recreational resources. The regional recreation study found that the most utilized assets are the walking trails and parks. Open spaces and playgrounds are critical assets that need updating and investment. This could include the use of our municipally owned land at Lac Saint Cyr for biking trails, cross-country skiing, biathlon, archery, ice climbing, paintball, or a lazy river like Discovery Canyon and Red Deer. Not all children can attend the amazing organized sports that St. Paul has to offer. And when people are looking to move to the Northeast region, they're looking for whole family quality of life activities. Bonnyville is investing large money in their Canuso Ridge Adventure Park, and Cold Lake is developing their beachfront. These investments are what prospective families use to decide where to live. Recreation is important not only for physical health, but mental well-being, which brings me to my second passion, which is men's mental health. In partnership with FCSS, myself and others have started the St. Paul Men's Let's Talk support group. We meet twice a month to share experiences, break stigma, and support each other. And men's mental health is critically important as our economy changes. We are in the beginning steps of diversifying our local economy, and it will be our role as the next council and the next generation of leaders to foster and develop more jobs across different sectors. That's why I've been so excited about the work that the STEP Economic Development Alliance has started. In conclusion, I'm running for re-election because rather than trying to perfect the past, I believe we need to build a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Joe, you're up next. Now, just for everyone who's watching, Joe is in a somewhat remote location and he's a little concerned about his connectivity. So if Joe disappears, he didn't do it on purpose. So Joe, sorry, I'll hand that over to you. And then after Joe, we'll have one.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And okay, thank you everyone. And I really appreciate that you guys gave me a chance to attend this meeting here. Myself, Jyoti Ranjan Khandwala. It's too hard to pronounce, so call me Joe. And I'm from a very diverse culture that I belongs. And I remember when I came to Canada, it's 2007, 27 July. Since that day, I stepped my feet in Canada, and that is St. Paul, and I feel like it's a home. And when I lived in St. Paul, the environment, the people, and everybody, I started love, and they are my family. When slowly, when I feel that we need to involve in our community, because seeing so many stuff that hasn't been changed for a long time, we need to change it. That change is supposed to be brought into our community. And see, we have a great vision in our community. If you go see in our community vision, there is a great vision we have. It's a leader in rural success. And we have so many, our core value of the town, it's so great that it brings us together. But I feel there is a lackness in there that we can go as a newcomer. We are not politician, but as a newcomer, we can go there and we can change it. That's what the changes need to be done in there. So as a person of the community, as a newcomer to the community, I would like to be a voice of my own community that has to be carefully and carefully should be done in our community. That's all.
Thank you, Joe. Ron, you're up next, and then it'll be Gary.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to give you a little bit of background about myself in case you don't know who I am. In 1973, I came to St. Paul to work as a loan officer for the Service Credit Union. I was employed at Service for 33 years in various positions and until 2006. During that time, I was on the school board for 2 years and 11 years on town council. In 2006, I applied and accepted a position of CAO for the town of St. Paul. And I held that position for 9 years until my retirement in October of 2015. In 2017, I put in my nomination papers for town council and was successful in becoming a team member of council for the last 4 years. As you can see, I bring experience and knowledge to the table from both the financial, administration, and political side. In the last 4 years, the existing council team was faced with various challenges: land issues, personnel issues, water management, and of course, COVID restrictions. My compliments goes out to our administration, managers, and staff who had to adjust while continuing to provide service to our residents, either from home or the office, through these tough economic times. I am a firm believer that if you want to be part of a community, you have to be involved in the community. I am actively involved with the following nonprofit groups. I am treasurer of the St. Paul Soccer Facilities, chairman of Cap Arena, standby driver for Meals on Wheels. I am also on the Cornerstone Co-op board and the St. Paul Abilities Network, known as SPAN. In the past, I was also involved with many other nonprofit groups. I am committed to the community. My responsibility as a counselor is to attend meetings with an open mind, obtain feedback from residents, and communicate results. Counselors are voted by the people, and that we as a team of elected individuals must ensure that the needs of the community are dealt with in a safe, honest manner within fiscal restraints. We must promote growth. However, keep in mind that we must also maintain what we currently have. In my closing comments, I will be bringing up some of the challenges that I believe that the new council may be addressing in the next term. And I would like to thank Diane and her Chamber of Commerce Committee for organizing this forum. And also thanks to all of you that joined virtually. Good luck to all the candidates.
Thanks, Ron. Gary, you're up next, and then it'll be Daniel.
Just have to unmute myself. Thanks, Brent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event and Diane for all of your work putting this together. My name is Gary Ward and I'm running for Town Councillor. The past 4 years have been very rewarding as a councillor for the town and was great to work alongside and with my fellow councillors and of course our Mayor Maureen Miller. My wife Angie and I have been married for 36 years and have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. I've been an active member in our community since 1996 when we moved here. I have been involved with St. Paul Minor Hockey since 1997, and I presently am the ice scheduler for both arenas. 1998 was St. Paul Minor Ball, where I worked in various positions, and now I'm the diamond assigner and diamond maintenance. Also, St. Paul Soccer Facilities, where I sit as a vice president. 1997, I joined the Cap Arena just after we moved here, and now sit on that one as the vice president also. I also presently sit on various committees within the town. As stated previously, it was a pleasure to work alongside the previous council as we all worked together in moving St. Paul in a positive direction and a better place for our community, for our residents and our business community. We as council faced many situations, COVID, health issues and concerns, municipal funding and tax issues, and I believe that we have met them and dealt with them to the best of our knowledge and ability and in the best interests of our community. I will continue to bring a strong leadership role to council with fiscal responsibility, integrity, transparency, and a passion that I have for this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Next up, we have Daniel Godowski, and then we'll have Brad.
All right, got my mute button off. So thank you, Brent, and the Chamber for putting this on. I appreciate that. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Daniel Godowski. I was born and raised in St. Paul, attended local school here, played both organized and school sports, both as youth and in adulthood as well. Very involved in the community, from being on different boards, volunteering, attending different local events. I decided to run for town council this year just to give back to the community that gave me the opportunities I had growing up and throughout like after school and adulthood, things like that. With that being said, I'm not going to have all the answers, but I'm ready for the challenge to find them out. As a council, we need to lead by example and work together to continue making this town a great place to live. I look forward to this new and exciting venture ahead of me and working with I guess 5 others of you, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Brad, you're up next, and then Sid will wrap up the introductory portion.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. Everyone, my name is Brad Eamon. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. Well, St. Paul residents, I am back and I am looking for your support and your vote. I want to continue to build the momentum that I helped create over the last 4 years. During the last 4 years, I have held myself to a high standard. I have been accountable, honest, and transparent. I believe I have been a very strong leader in our community. I have never shied away from the hard conversations with residents or businesses or at the council table. I have been fiscally responsible with our taxpayer dollars. As I raise a young family in our town, I continue to understand the changing needs and the worries that are directly impacting our families and our businesses. I want to continue to work together with our residents, our businesses, to support and develop a town now and for the future. Being a husband and dad and raising 3 little brats isn't very easy, but I will continue to engage our residents, businesses, neighbors, and represent our town with a purpose, a vision, and common sense. When I was deciding to run for council again, I was asked by someone I look up to and I have a great deal of respect for. The question asked of me was, have you made a positive impact your term? You know, honestly, that question took me back a little bit. It got me thinking. Some real soul searching took place. I thought about that question a lot of nights. It took me time to answer that in my heart and in my mind. But absolutely, absolutely positive impact in our community and our council for many reasons, big and small. At the end of this term, looking back, I can hold my head high and be proud of everything we have accomplished, and how this community is positioned to move forward is very exciting. And I want to be a part of that movement. Just to mention a few examples, we were ahead of Alberta with our IDP, intermunicipal development plans with the County of St. Paul and our surrounding communities. Being involved with the IDPs was a huge win for both town and county. We put out 2 resident surveys, pilot project crime map, ongoing conversations with the RCMP to keep the community safe. The council has a solid strategic plan in place. We have strong policies in place to guide us as elected officials and to keep us all in our lanes. At the end of the day, for me personally, we need to continue to work together with our businesses and neighboring communities. I want to encourage and engage positive conversations that produce real results. I'm not a career politician by any stretch. That's just not me. I just want another 4 years as your counselor. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And Sid, over to you.
Did you mention Sid? Thank you, Brent. Thank you to all my supporters in the upcoming municipal election. My name is Sid, full name Siddharth Sood. I'm a resident of St. Paul from last 14 years. I'm working with movie theaters St. Paul for last 10 years. Before that, I was working as a lead baker with Co-op and Sobeys. I'm here to represent our community. I want to engage our residents and approach every decision with open mind. I will do the best I can for this town. My goal would be simply contribute in a positive way that will leave the town and its people in a better place. Then, before I was elected, I have a strong desire to make a positive difference, and because of the fact I'm truly and honestly love St. Paul, I want to do my part to give it back and also help our community. In the last few days, I have received great support and lots of kind words. I truly appreciate and trust and support from each other and every one of you. I'm married. My wife, she works with TD Bank, St. Paul. Her name is Charu. Maybe many of you know her. And I will not take much time. All I say, I will try my best level to fulfill your expectations, and thank you. Thank you for supporting me.
Great. Thank you, Sid.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a number of questions that have been submitted. I'm going to begin asking some of these questions. The first question I have, it's not directed to anyone in particular, so everyone will have 2 minutes to respond to this. Here's the question. Being a town councillor can sometimes be a full-time job. How do you propose to balance your role as a councillor with other responsibilities such as full-time employment, family, children, volunteering, etc.? So I'm going to call on Nathan first for this question, if you would like to comment.
Absolutely. This is one of the largest challenges for any town councillor. And this was particularly difficult for me having a young family. I served 2 terms in Smoky Lake before I had kids, before I was married, and it was much easier to be able to dedicate all of my spare time to this. This is part of the reason why I'm not seen in as many clubs and activities. The clubs that I've committed to is 1 per year other than council, and that was Toastmasters until we shut down and has now been the Men's Mental Health Support Group. Other than that, my focus has always been council. I wonderfully and thankfully have a job at CNRL, and they have been very gracious to allow me flexibility to take time off during the day to come back to St. Paul and be at meetings when that's needed. This role as councillor is my priority. It is my passion. And although it is difficult, it is where I spend all of my hobby time, and was why I don't have hobby time. So it is a very difficult choice. And I'm glad that there are so many people running, and that's my commitment to the community.
Thanks, Nathan. Joe, any comment on that? On this question? Did we lose Joe? We lost Joe. Okay, if he comes back on, how about Ron? Ron, any comment?
Yes, my situation is a little bit different than most of the other candidates in the sense that I am retired. So I do have the time to attend meetings, committee meetings, conventions, and so forth. So that is not an issue for me with respect to the amount of time I can spend on council. And I enjoy it, so it's quite good for me. Keeps me busy and active. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
Definitely the role as a counselor is a priority. I am not retired like some of our other counselors that are running. But I do, as far as the commitment to the town and everything else, I think my past record speaks for itself, that I am very committed to this town and very passionate about this job, and looking forward to moving on for another 4 years as counselor.
Thanks, Gary. Daniel?
This is all new to me, obviously, so I guess I'm gonna have to change up my priorities, set time aside, because with being in healthcare, it definitely takes a lot of time throughout the day, and I may not have the time throughout the workday, but I definitely plan to take that time after work and put towards this and wherever possible to help out with other committees and things like that.
Thanks, Daniel. Brad, any comment?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It can be a full-time job and then some. So for me personally, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, but at the end of the day, I have a strong support network at home, and that definitely makes it a lot easier. And being employed where I'm at, we employ firefighters and counselors, and it's been, we've made it work, and I'm committed to the community. And, it is hard to attend some meetings. It can be challenging, but at the end of the day, I've always made myself available and accessible, even during work hours. So, I mean, I'm always tuned in. I sort of have a pulse of what's happening, and I'm ready for the challenge for another 4 years of continuing to make myself accessible and to attend meetings where we have to. So, thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Sid? Any
Hi. I work at movie theaters, so I'm pretty flexible. If I have to attend a meeting, I will be there. We have staff, we coordinate, and so it's not tough for me to arrange my time. I have mornings available and afternoon available. I can always do my work next day. If something priority comes, I will be available. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Norm?
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brent. Well, I've been lucky in the sense that I had a great employer who allowed me to take the time to leave to attend meetings. And my track record, if you look back, would show that. It is a very time-consuming position. I will not lie to that. But you have to have that passion and desire, and that I would be honored to serve you guys. Thank you.
Dwight, any comment?
Yes, I can absolutely agree with every one of you. It's definitely a challenge coming up with, how you're going to fit everything into your life schedule, I guess you could call it. But the thing of it is that, yes, I also am lucky enough as a business owner to be flexible in the sense that I can give my time to the town, which I actually thoroughly enjoy and have thoroughly enjoyed doing. It's something that is very important to me. My family is also very important to me, so I always make time for them as well. So it is true that it's a challenge, and you do have to consciously make a decision on balancing everything that comes at you. But basically, I have always, and I would be able to agree with the track record that I've had during council, my term on council as well, that I was able to attend basically everything that I needed to do and get done everything that I needed to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Joe, did you have a comment?
Yeah, for sure. As I was working as a general manager for co-op, store manager for Walmart, and I have been with so diverse management situation. While I'm going into a commitment, I have that much skill and I have that much plans that I can manage my own time to get into what I have committed to the community. That's all.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, did you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure can, Joe.
Okay, I already spoke something. Did you guys hear that or not?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. It's really, really, I don't know why it's going here and there. Okay.
So the next question again will be for everybody. I'm going to try to kind of combine two questions because they're very similar, but there's sort of an extra part here. So as a business owner, I can promote my business to attract employees from outside the region, but I don't have the tools and resources to promote the town. What efforts can the town make to help attract people to the area? And I'm thinking particularly, we're often seem to be short of professionals in the medical field and otherwise, doctors, dentists, emergency care, home care. What are some things you would try to do to bring young professionals to live and work in our area? So I'm going to start with, let's go with Gary first on this one.
I think the biggest thing that as a town, to promote our town, is the amenities that we have to offer. With the schooling, with the healthcare, with the parks, with the facilities that we have, we can offer a lot more to anybody looking to move into a smaller community. I would have to say that would be our biggest advantage. From the town side, we probably have to do promoting of our community, whether it be on our website or even pamphlets that are available to be distributed through marketing. But I think the biggest thing is our amenities that we have. And that is something that we do have a fair amount that we can offer by having the amount of lakes in the area, by the amount of parks that we have in town, by our recreation facilities, our swimming pool, wellness center, and the hospital. I think that is our biggest advantage in recruiting.
Thanks, Gary. Daniel, any comment?
Yeah. So this was one of my concerns when I decided to run for council, to come up with ideas and collaborate with the rest of council, hear from everybody in town of how we're going to bring new doctors to town, bring new professionals, things like that, and just in general get more people to town. And I agree with Gary on a lot of things he said there, in the sense of we have the structures and the facilities already set up. It's just now to maybe go out and more promote that so that those people want to come here. Thanks.
Thanks, Danny. Brad, any comment?
Yeah, good question. And what I think that process is sort of starting. been 4 years in the making for me on council, and I think this process is starting to happen. You know, our website is more up to date, rebranded this town. You know, our land use bylaws have been updated. We actually have a plan in place to upgrade our parks. Our Iron Horse Trail is just exploding. So we do have some natural amenities just around us that are really, you know, geared towards a lot of a certain lifestyle. You know, our doctor recruiting committee, you know, our mayor is on top of things, and she is knocking on doors, and you know, so stuff is starting to happen, and there is room to grow. But I think we're well on the way, and it's just to carry this momentum forward and keep the positivity going, and just keep going in the right direction. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Norm?
Thank you. Well, there are many ways we could attract young professionals to our community. One of the ideas that have come across our table, which we're just starting to look at, is actually reaching out to the universities and colleges and actually inviting them to come down to the community and see it firsthand. By doing this, it allows them to see our amenities and what we actually have in our community. And with that being said, just the other day, actually, I met one of the new doctors walking down the street. And he was just amazed at how, coming from a big city, how many amenities we had in our community and how friendly our community was. And I think if we attended trade shows and conferences and promoted our community that way, we would attract more people. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. In my list here, I missed Sid. I apologize. Sid?
Thanks, Brent. I'll give you an example. I was on a radio and I heard there is a local filmmaker from Wagerville. He's making a movie. He made a movie called, most of you seen it, maybe heard about it. It's called They Who Surrounded Us. All I listened on a radio, and I went back to the studio and I said, is it possible to bring this to this town? They said, yes, it might be for a day, but I worked on it and I brought it for a 1 week. I was surprised. Almost 300 people showed up to support that movie. That came to St. Paul. And I'm working on bringing another movie which is locally made in Spruce Grove. So if we try, we can do enough and we can bring people to this town. We used to have circus in this town. We used to have a fair behind movie theater in this town. There was a reason to people to come to this town. So if we can, we do it. All we have to do is show some efforts. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Dwight? Any comments?
Yeah, just, you know what, everybody brings up excellent points. And it's, as a business owner, when you go out to recruit, you share your benefits. And well, we sure have an absolutely wonderful town. And, you know, I think just having people realize it, and, you know, if they're not aware of it, making them aware of what we actually have here is something that's going to be real special. Even if we can actually continue to talk to people who are experienced in certain areas that we need to bring people here, you know, thinking outside the box for economic development and those kinds of things. Those are ideas that come about, but marketing is going to be very important to allow us to share what we have to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan, any comment?
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dwight, for leading into the economic development. Promoting our community takes more than just advertising. As any business owner understands, you don't just re-advertise the same merchandise. You need to turn it over. You need to provide something new. All people in Alberta expect us to have healthcare. They expect us to have sports teams. We need to give them new reasons. And I spoke about that in my introduction of why we're competing with the Northeast. We're competing with the Bonnyvilles, with the St. Pauls to bring people to stay here. It takes more than just promoting what we have. We need to start thinking as a council for the next 20 to 40 years about what we can develop and what we can build to then attract more people. This is why STEP was created. Economic development, when I first joined on council, was the responsibility of a part-time town councillor. No, it's not. It is the job of a professional who now is doing it for the entire region, because we cannot promote only ourselves. We need to promote the town and county together. partnership and developing our community. That's what will bring people here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Joe, any comment? Oh, I think we lost Joe again. Sorry. Ron?
Yes, with respect to doctor and recruitment, I've been on that committee for quite a number of years. And what we used to do at that time is, of course, we had a local doctor, Dr. Harmsey, who was quite involved with the provincial government as far as somebody that we could, that he could connect and relate to other doctors that were interested in coming. But we had, at that time, we had made a video of St. Paul, and what Nathan just said with regards to the STEP program, they are looking at getting grant money in order to update this video and to use it as far as attracting and trying to retain not only doctors but other professionals and just workers to come to St. Paul, and we definitely need a lot of employees. If you ask the big organizations like SPAN and Co-op, they're always looking for assistance in finding people. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Move on to our next question. I ask it, I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but maybe someone on council will know. The town of St. Paul does not have an inclusion and accessibility policy specifically regarding employment and recreation. Do you think it should? And how would you proceed to rectify the oversight of this lack of policy? I will start with Brad this time.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a tough question, to be honest with you. I don't really recall anything. I know myself personally, I've always come to the table with looking through the lens of inclusion. That's always been a big part of this community. And I think for myself, it's always been a sort of a guiding light of how I make decisions, trying to involve everybody from every side. But that is a shortcoming that the town doesn't have in place. We obviously need to put something in place to put it on paper and continue to follow those guidelines as one of our mandates. And yeah, that's a good question. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Norm.
Thanks, Brent. Inclusion is very important in our community. I know we had started on a policy a few years back, and I apologize, I don't know why that policy got dropped and never was completed, but it should be, because we need to reach out to inclusion. And I think if we reached out to our inclusion rep in the area and had them actually form a committee with some of our council and put a policy together, because we definitely do need a policy. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with both of them. It's definitely a good question and something that, and as I said earlier, you know, everyone matters in St. Paul. And so having that kind of policy in place and following through with something like that is vitally important, and important to keep that at the front of the table as well as something that's a priority to actually go do and finalize and have it there. Thank you.
Thanks. Nathan, any comment?
Thank you, Brent. Absolutely. We have made starts, but there's much more to do. We've been a little bit too lackluster on trying to address things like sidewalks. People have come forward to the mayor, to councillors, saying, you know, hey, my child, my friend, myself, we have mobility issues. Why doesn't this sidewalk curb have accessibility? And yes, council picks it up and says, you know, we didn't know, we're sorry, and that will be put on our list of work to be done. And we do that work, but it is often, far too often, ad hoc. I'm reminded of the story that that the Inclusion St. Paul brought to the council when they came and spoke, and this has stuck with me because it was so vivid. Which was just the political cartoon of the one child trying to get up the ramp to the school, and there was snow on the ramp and the sidewalk, and the maintenance worker said, just wait until I clear the sidewalk and then I'll clear the ramp for you. And the girl in the wheelchair said, if you clear the ramp, we can all get in. And that was the point, is that being an inclusive community is not for people who need the inclusion, it is for everyone, because it makes us all a better community. So it should and needs to be a priority. So thank you for the question.
Ron.
We did have a presentation made by Dr. Shapka regarding inclusion, and I believe it's quite important that we continue to follow up on that topic, because it's important that these children that have disabilities, that they can participate in real community life like everybody else. So I think it'd be something that the next council would have on their agenda to follow up and continue to see if we can make this work. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
Just have to agree with what everybody has been saying, and I think it is something that we have to do, whether it be this council right now, or if we have it brought up as a new council and to bring it back to the CAO and administration to look into policy, which can be brought back forth to council. I think it is something that has to be addressed, and whether it's with this one or with this council or the next council, it has to be something that has to be done.
Thanks, Gary. And Daniel.
Yeah, I agree with everybody that's spoke on this here. We just need to keep an open line of communication with everybody in the community and just promote like diversity and working together. I think that's the only way this town moves forward in the direction we want. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Next question is going to be about COVID. I'm trying to combine about 5 different questions in this in the interest of saving some time here. As you may or may not know, our county is one of the worst in Alberta for case rate. What other measures could the town be using to deal with the pandemic? And would you or would you not support mandatory vaccines or medical passports of any kind in our town? And I'm going to go to Danny Godowski first.
Okay. So first of all, anything like from the passports or vaccine mandates is all going to come from the provincial, federal government, things like that. So my opinion and the way I believe is that we need to follow those mandates and what they decide to protect our community and keep everyone safe in our community, as opposed in the sense of how we promote to do things to keep everybody continued to be safe and to get keep numbers down in the hospital, things like that. I think that's not really for me to answer. I think that's more so we need to talk to the health professionals in that side of things and how we can move forward and make our community better that way. That's what I got there.
Sorry. Brad, any comment?
Gotta find my mute button, so thank you. Yeah, that's a tough question. You know, part of me, honestly, I believe in personal choice and freedoms. But having said that, I also believe that vaccines work, and COVID has changed our world, and we need to find a way to adapt and make the necessary changes to get back to a normal way of life. But it is frustrating with our federal and provincial governments, because they're the ones that make the rules. And it's the last 2 years as a town councillor, you know, we have met when the time has come. We've tried to stay ahead of the curve and not really impose or restrict or segregate anybody. You know, we've just tried to be responsible, and I want to continue to do that. You know, there's communities around us that have had 3-4 meetings a week just around COVID. We haven't had that. You know, you know, as a leader in this community, I just want to get us all back to normal. So, you know, whatever that looks like, and just continue to keep trying to navigate through these times and the rules that are coming from above, because that's what we sort of have to follow to. So it's tough, but yeah, that's a tough question. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Sid, any comment?
Yes, I agree. I agree with everyone here for getting vaccine and whatever they suggested. But I was worried in start. And then I took a decision that, you know what, I'm going to get vaccine because I want my family safe and I want everyone outside in community safe. This is tough for everyone, but you want everyone safe, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Norm might be frozen. Norm, there we go.
No, I'm here. Yes, a very good question, but a very tough question. Firstly, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't aware that as a municipality, we are mandated by the province to follow their guidelines, and the province lays out the rules. So unfortunately, a lot of times we look like the bad guys enforcing these rules, but they're just rules that have been handed down from higher forces. As far as keeping our community safe, we, I think as a council, have tried to make the best decisions possible with the information we've had. And like I stated before, unfortunately, we aren't health experts. So we are doing the best we can with the knowledge we have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Norm. Dwight, any comment?
Yes, I've been having this experience over at the school board actually, and it really is tough because there's just a lot of thoughts on this particular topic. But I definitely am one for a person's personal choice, but I also stand behind and fully support the safety of our community and doing the best that we can under the guidance of the provincial government. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. Nathan, any comment?
Absolutely. I think the number one, first and most important thing that we need to do as a community is practice speaking kindly to each other. I am vaccinated. My family is vaccinated. My parents are vaccinated. I can read as much as I need to feel safe, that the vaccine is safe for me, and I believe that it will be safe for my children. And my wife and I are looking forward to that day when we can vaccinate them. And although it's my responsibility as the leader to encourage people to get vaccinated, we cannot badger, we cannot harass, and we cannot demean people, because these actions cause physical, it causes a connection in your brain, in the same part of your brain that feels physical pain. And so when you harass somebody about something, they feel the same pain as if you punch them. And so that is not the way to convince people to get vaccinated. We need to encourage, we need to support. And the idea of passing a mandate municipally won't work. It has to be done at the provincial level. We need leadership by, as Councillor Noel had said, people with the medical experience to be making decisions across the province, because we cannot start segregating between Bonnyville has these rules and St. Paul has these. It has to be province-wide to work. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron, any comment?
The unfortunate part is that the provincial government is trying to download a lot of this stuff on the municipalities. Even at our last meeting, we had that situation with regards to the arenas and a swimming pool, all our facilities, whether or not we would use that program in order to initiate whether people had to be vaccinated or not. Fortunately for us, our administration came up with 4 options, and the one option that worked the best for the children to continue playing in that was acceptable by and passed by council. And we addressed both situations as far as adults and children were addressed at that point in time. Having said that, you never know what's going to come down the tube next week. We could get some from the provincial government that will throw that off, or else they might try to download some other stuff on our municipality. So we'll just wait and see.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And Gary, get the last word on this one.
Basically, you take a look at what everybody else has said, and with the provincial government, they're the ones that they send the direction down to the municipalities, and we're supposed to be following the direction and any mandate by the provincial governments. Do we agree with all of them? Probably not, but we are, as councillors, and that we do have to follow them as per our MGA for one. You know, personal choice is a big thing. When it comes down to this one here, we're controlled by the government as far as what we do. And I'd like to say that we have more control as what we can, but right now, unless something changes with the government and they bring something down, which is on a weekly basis or 2 or 3 times a week where things have changed in that. But I don't see things going too much differently right now.
Hey, thanks, Gary. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the next question, we're going to take a hard left here. What will you do about the cat problem in town? Even though there's a leash bylaw for cats, they're roaming free everywhere. Gary, I'll give you the first crack at this one.
Thank you, Brent. As far as the cat problem, what we can do, we can talk to our bylaw enforcement officers, and we can make that. We'll have to talk to our CAO and have them get informed, get a hold of the CPOs to look into the situation. They're the ones that are going to be looking after it and trying to control it, and whether or not our animal shelter will be able to host that many other animals out there is going to be another question. But I think all that we can do as a council is direct our administration to look into the situation and have our CPOs direct it the best they can.
Thanks, Gary. Danny?
Okay, found the unmute button. On my end of town, I guess I didn't realize there was a problem with the cats being out, but I guess I'm on the same side as Gary, where we'd have to go talk to the bylaw officers and the CAO and the administration to take things up from there and see how to move forward that way to stop this here. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Brad?
Yeah, good question. We have bylaws in place, and I guess at the end of the day, if the complaints are coming in, those bylaws need to be enforced. Now, the question is going to become, the animal shelter and finding a partner that can make this feasible and make this all happen. So, having heard this question, I think I would agree sort of with Gary there. We should probably circle back and have a conversation with our admin team see what options we can move forward with that are going to be viable and humane moving forward, because that's going to be what it comes down to as well, unfortunately. But thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Sid? Well, you're muted, Sid. Sid, you're muted. There you.
Thanks, Brent. So I don't have a cat, but same as Daniel, I live close to Daniel. We don't have that cat problem in our surrounding area. But cat is a life, right? If I see those cats around me, all I can do either share it on Facebook, or I can go, if I know who it belongs to, I'll go and talk to those owners and request them, please keep them. If it's out of my way, I'll straight go to the town or call peace officer, but their lives, they are important. You know, I love cats. Thank you.
There you have it. Sid is a cat person.
I love cat, but I don't have a cat. But you know what? I'm not against the cat. Like, you know, I can't hate them. If I see them, I'll just take them and take them to owners, you know. I just love them, you know. But yeah, thank you.
You betcha. Norm, any comment?
Sure. My cat owner actually owned 2 cats. So it comes basically, there's a few things. I think we have to, one thing is talk as a council with our CEO and our management team and discuss how we can inform the public and the cat owners that basically when you're leaving a cat go out to do its thing, you're basically, you don't let your dog off the leash, or you shouldn't let your dog off the leash and run the neighborhood. And a cat is no different. So basically, I think a lot of it's going to be education. And part of it probably could be as well feral cats. And if it's feral cats, what we would have to do there is possibly have a once a year roundup where we would catch these cats and have them spayed or neutered. And that way would help control the cat population in our community. Again, it would have to be a discussion held at the council level. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight?
I'm with Sid. I love cats, although I don't have a cat, but they're so just so friendly when you're coming around them. But I think that what everyone has been saying is that it's once it becomes a priority, or if it becomes a priority, it's a very important discussion to have with the management team and the peace officers. It's a discussion where you need to say, look at, you know, this is an issue. We're going to have to go out there and educate people properly on the responsibilities that they have for these animals. I'm with Brad too as well. It's very important that we find a mechanism in place to control the situation as well. That's very important because once it becomes a huge issue, that we don't want it to get out of control. So we need to take action, do something, and move forward with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan, any comment on the cat situation?
Thank you, Brent. Absolutely. And to build on both of those last 2 comments, this is where technology comes in for me. RFID tags. We require you to get a cat license. I believe it's once a year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Norm. The reality is we should be saying that when you get your cat and you're registering it, it is required to have an RFID tag. We can then look at the cost of doing a catch program, because Norm is right that feral cats can be the problem. And if that's the issue, they run the risk of bringing in and attracting other wildlife. So differentiating between a household pet and a feral cat is key. Implementing when you register your cat, get an RFID tag, we pick it up. First time it's a return back home. Second time it's, possibly a fine. Third time, same thing. Education, then fines. This is why our council supported the animal shelter. We have bylaw enforcement officers who are highly passionate about animal care. And we took that and said, yes, we will help support you as staff members, and we will help contribute to the animal shelter. We've contributed funds in operations in previous years and as recently as to last meeting. And I would encourage anybody who's watching to join the animal shelter and help out and help fundraise so that they can continue to do the work that they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Ron, any question, any comment on the cat problem?
We have a cat, but it stays in the house, so it doesn't create a problem in the neighborhood. However, having said that, if there is wild cats in the area, they of course go into flower beds or gardens that these people have, and of course they would phone our peace officers to see how they can fix that. And of course, peace officers will come back to them and say they can get traps, and they also use the traps not only for cats but also for skunks. The peace officers are very compassionate when it comes to cats, because when the animal shelter was shut down for quite a few months, they would drive to Lloydminster to bring these cats into their animal shelters out there. So I'm sure that if we at a council meeting or bring it up to the director of services, Trevor Kotowicz, I'm sure he could look into the policies on that, maybe something similar to what Nathan has suggested. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Getting lots of questions about why we're asking about cats, and it's because we had numerous questions about cats. So it is on the minds of the voters. So to those of you there are people watching, obviously. This next question is directed directly towards Dwight. So Dwight, I'll give you a couple minutes to answer, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, I will let you do that. Dwight, do you feel it's proper for a person to hold two public office positions at the same time?
That is a very good question. You know, I asked that question a while ago, in fact, the last election, because one of our school board members was actually the mayor of Elk Point and a school board member. So it has been done before, and it can be done. And I actually absolutely welcome the challenge of participating in this fully. And I think that goes back to the question of how much time are you going to be able to give? Well, this is something I've thought about as well, but I've been so involved in the community that what I love to do and spend my time on is the community. So I find that being involved in both areas is really fulfilling and possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Does anybody want to weigh in? Give me a wave if you do, and I will let you speak. No. Okay. Just trying to decide here on my next question. The town of St. Paul seems to be behind when it comes to proactive waste management practices. What kind of initiatives do you believe are needed and feasible to make St. Paul a greener community? I'll start with Norm on this one.
Thank you, Brent. I actually kind of mentioned it in my opening statements. We had started the process by bringing out our bin program. With that bin program, though, that is just one small step of the whole grand scheme of things. I believe that we have to get better at recycling. By all means, we need to have either blue boxes, make it easier for our residents to be able to recycle, because it is not right for us to leave our children this mess to clean up down the road. And I know we have a professional composter actually in our community, and we have to take advantage of his expertise and get this composting happening more efficiently and more proper so that it actually can be used in homes and in even our parks, so that we could use it in gardens, in our parks, and make use of it. But yeah, definitely we have to look at a better way of doing this. And I know we had talked about moving forward after our bin program was launched, just maybe next year, move into maybe the boxes, be it the green boxes or the blue boxes. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight, any comment?
My comment on that would be that I think that the town is on the right path. I think that the start of what you've begun is important, but it's not done. And so we need to continue on the direction of providing these kinds of services within, financial responsibility as well. But there are opportunities for us to become a greener community, a cleaner community. And so these discussions should and must continue to happen so that we can continue down this road to make this a proper, clean community. Thank you.
Muted myself. Sorry, thanks, Dwight. Nathan, any comment?
More than 2 minutes. As the member representing Evergreen Regional Landfill Commission, the number one first priority for me was getting their financial commission in order. Prior to me being back on that board, we were having deficits every single year. And within the first year, we turned that around and stopped having deficits and requisitions from our community. So putting Evergreen on a financial position where they can then expand is my number one priority. And that's why if I'm reelected, I will not only be asking to sit on Evergreen, I will be asking to run for the chair of Evergreen because this is my passion area. I completely agree that we need to do more for composting and for recycling. And over the last 3 years, we've experienced situations where cardboard, which we collect and we compost, had to be brought to the landfill just to be wasted and just to be put in the landfill because the market for recyclables became so low, we were losing money. We had a difficult choice. Do we stop recycling? Do we stop the program and tell people not to bring their compost, their cardboard to the transfer station? Or do we keep people in the same behavior and wait it out? And that's what we did. And cardboard prices are now high enough that we are making a profit. So recycling is the next place to go. The blue bin would be fantastic. We're talking about needing a what's called a MRF, a material refuse separation facility, which is could be anywhere between $2 to $5 million investment and could employ 10 to 20 staff members to separate. This is why I also talked in my initial speech about the need for waste to energy. These new technologies will allow us to actually mine the landfill that we have and take that waste and process it directly into things like diesel fuel. These technologies are things that myself and economic development are engaged in having conversations with last month and this month. We were supposed to go and visit a site of a facility that's doing that here in Alberta. So this is absolutely my priority to make our community a greener, more environmentally sustainable community. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron, any comment?
Yes, I'm on the same committee as Nathan with respect to Evergreen. The problem, just to add on to what Nathan has said, is the issue with coming with a biofuel plant and all that is the volume that is required in order to run this type of plant. We've been to different cities in the States, in Alberta, and the problem they all had in order to initiate it was to have at least 100,000 tons of waste. And if somebody can come up with of having a plant with less tonnage, that would be fantastic. But waste has been a problem for many years and will continue to do so until something is in place. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Gary, any comment?
Basically, I think we did get the start as far as our bin program this year. We have looked into recycling, composting and everything else. But that'll just kind of, like what Ron was saying, in order to get the tonnage and everything else, is it really worth it? Is it viable? It's a tough question. Like you take a look, can Evergreen pick up more of it? Can we offer maybe a blue bin as well as a curbside pickup that we have right now to pick up some of the other recyclables? That's just something else that's going to have to be on the table for the next council, just to take a look at and take a look at the financial responsibility that we are going to have and what it is going to cost to implement something like that in our community. That's all.
Thanks, Gary. Danny?
Well, this is actually something I brought up many years ago before the bins out in the yards. And I think that's a great start. And I think there's a lot more we can do with going to being in other communities over past many years and seeing how they do things. We definitely have a long way to go. So I think there's definitely some room for growth and to improve in that department. And I definitely support going that direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Brad, any comment?
Yeah, another good question. And with all due respect to Councillor Taylor, I am absolutely amazed that you kept that under 2 minutes. So you know what, this conversation is a long one. It can go on. We've batted this a couple ideas around our council table, but where I stand personally, I got 3 kids. We've made personal adjustments in our house, and at the end of the day, I want to leave this place better for our youth and for everybody. So, you know, there's definitely, to me, there's being responsible and putting viable plans in place. And if it's recycling and everything like that, absolutely. I'm open-minded, and I want to continue to improve our garbage collection and find efficiencies within the council and just keep moving. You're going to hear it from me again, but the momentum, just keep that momentum going. There's opportunities, and we just need to continue going. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Go to our next question. So as everybody's hopefully aware, there's going to be 2 other ballot items that people are voting on election day, and those are the time change in the Senate, the available Senate seat. People are asking, what are your feelings on sharing that ballot with these 2 questions? And particularly, do you think that a change in the daylight savings time would have an effect on St. Paul, the St. Paul business community? We'll start with Ron on this one.
Brett, can you repeat the question again, please?
I sure can. So on the ballot this year, there'll be the 2 questions besides who you want to vote for. There'll be a vote for the Senate seat and a vote for a referendum vote on eliminating daylight savings time in Alberta. How do you feel about sharing the ballot with those 2 questions? And if a daylight savings time was eliminated, do you think it would have a negative or positive effect on the business community in St. Paul?
Well, with regards to daylight savings time, when it was originally changed, of course, there was pros and cons to it, just like anything else. I personally feel that families had an issue with daily savings because the children, of course, would have an hour difference with respect to meals, going to bed, and so forth. A lot of other adults felt that it was very beneficial because they had more daylight to work with. So, like I said, there's pros and cons to it, but whatever decision is made at that point in time, people have to adjust to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Gary, any comment?
I just about I have to agree with Ron on this one here. No matter what you do, there's pros and cons both ways. Will there be a direct effect on the business community as far as the time change? I don't think so. I think the business community can adjust to it. Just something else that we're looking at doing. Sharing it with the Senate one, I don't have an issue with that at all. As far as any Senate reform would be a good thing. And if it's available to us, then why not?
Thanks, Gary. Daniel?
I agree with Gary in the sense of I don't think it's going to change anything with the business community. I guess if anything would be more the outdoor activities from the time of daylight, I guess. That's really my only comment on that. But from a business side of things, I don't think it's going to affect anything. I think the business community will adapt very well to whatever the decision comes to. And as in the sense of sharing the ballot, we're in a democracy, and I think it's great that we get a choice in all of this. So I'm definitely for that.
Thanks, Daniel. Brad?
Yeah, the Senate seat, you know what, it is what it is. I have no objections to that one. You know what, and as far as our businesses adjusting to a time change, well, for the last, close to 2 years, our businesses have adapted through all kinds of hoops and had to jump through all kinds of stuff. And locally here, our businesses have found a way. A majority of them have found a way, and I can really appreciate that, and I can see them being able to work through a time change. The time change question, myself personally, with I find that a little bit silly with all the issues we have moving forward, and all the questions that could be asked to us as individuals. We're going to use a time change question, and to me, there's a better use for it, but I understand. But it's a little bit frustrating, that one. There could be many different questions that the people could answer for our government to really look at. So, but it is what it is. So it is, we'll go from there.
Thanks, Brad. Sid?
I don't think businesses will have something problem for it. Like, I'm running a business, I'll take my initiative. I tell my employees ahead of, what, tomorrow is a daylight savings, just be ready for it. You lose 1 hour, but you gain 1 hour also next time. So I'm okay with that. I don't think it's a problem for any businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Norm, any thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I would agree that I don't think our businesses will have an issue adjusting to daylight savings time change. As far as the Senate vote, I feel since we already have a list of elected senators waiting, why did the province not just wait and put it on their ballot? That's all.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight, any comment?
Yeah, as a business owner, you're absolutely right. We have certainly been through a lot over the last year, 2 years. So I don't believe we would have any issue whether or not this time change were actually to go through. I really don't think so. Having the questions on the ballot, the only thing I can say is efficiency, getting the questions out there. If this is something that's important to the provincial government, to take the opportunity while everybody is out at the polls to get it done. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan.
Interestingly, on the Senate question, my grandmother, Gladys Taylor, was in the very first senatorial election in 1989. She ran as an independent and didn't win. So just a nod out to her, who has passed away, but at the beginning of my political family, and the only part of my political family. But what I would say on the Senate is that that's a conversation that needs to happen between the provinces and all the provinces about about Senate reform. It's not something that should have been spent. And I don't believe that the province should have been spending taxpayer money at a time on a question, as Norm said, when we already have a list. And so when we just got out of a federal election that we talked about the waste of taxpayer money for an election, why aren't we talking about that with the Senate? It is a show that the province is doing rather than engaging in real electoral or real senatorial reforms at the federal level. As far as time change goes, I completely believe that we need to change to go to a standard, to go to one time and no changing. The number one reason for me is health. Numerous studies have been done that show that the pushing forward on time, I think it's the forward on time, I can never remember which is which, does cause health concerns and health problems for people. With heart attacks, with changing of schedules, these health concerns are real. And there is no reason to do it. There were fallacies as to the reasons as to why, and even the U.S. government, when they changed the time that time change would happen from mid-October to the end of November, they said it would save money on energy. They never did the study after, and the promotion of the changing of the time from mid-October to end of November was specifically done by the candy lobby so that they could keep more daylight during trick-or-treating. But did they do the study afterwards to prove that it actually reduced energy consumption? No, they didn't. And I don't believe it does. So I don't think that we should be changing back and forth. And I absolutely will be voting to stay with one standard time. Whether it's standard time or daylight time, doesn't matter, but don't change. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. I think this next question is particularly timely, given what tomorrow is, Truth and Reconciliation Day. What is the town's responsibility towards truth and reconciliation? And what is your role as a councillor and citizen towards truth and reconciliation? And I'll start with Norm on this one.
Right. Well, I think it's important for all of us as Canadians to take an interest in this. There have been a lot of atrocities done in the past. I can't change the past, but I can only make the future better. And I think by making the future better, you have to know the past. So to me, we should be embracing our neighbors and learning more about them and the things that have happened. And it'll all make us all better. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight?
Yes, Norm, absolutely in total agreement with you on that. Equality is the key to understanding each one of us, because each one of us brings a special quality and a specialness of themselves. So everyone is treated equal, and we can do so much more to enhance our communications and our understanding and our teaching of what we know to future generations. Because you're absolutely right. It is key that we understand everything so that we can move forward in a proper and togetherness kind of a way, so that we can all work together to make this a better place to be as a community. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan?
I'm done writing my notes. We are all treaty people. Treaties are a negotiation and agreement between two sets of people, and we are signatories to that as the colonizing people. So we have responsibilities. What that means, I don't fully understand, but it is my responsibility to start learning more about what is my responsibility to fulfill our treaty obligations. It's also my responsibility, and I believe the community's responsibility, and to read the 94 recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation's call to actions. I have not read all of them. I have read some of them, and I continue to read them slowly as I learn more and more about what each of those calls to actions are. And so we need to read them and find where our municipality can do its part to fulfill those calls to action. I was very, very humbled and pleased when I had a personal invitation to come on the latest treaty walk. And it was the most amazing experience for me. I did not think that I was going to be able to walk 22 kilometers in one day. I expected to walk 5 kilometers and bail out. But when I got 10 kilometers in and having the conversations with people and learning more, I had to keep walking because I wanted to continue to learn more. And that is the first and foremost thing that I as a counselor, I as a citizen, I as a person need to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron, any comment?
Yeah, it's interesting on that question with respect to the amount of education that the municipalities are trying to put forward with, to their staff. So for example, the town of St. Paul, they had organized some courses to and some speakers to come in on tomorrow's date, the 30th. Unfortunately, they were canceled due to COVID, and they respected the elder's position so that he wouldn't, he didn't want to go out in public where that many people is. But I believe there's a lot of, even I'm on the co-op board, that we have some education sessions they are passing on to their staff and directors. So I believe a lot of companies who want to know more on how to deal with having equality with everybody, they are encouraging their staff to take these courses. And of course, anybody, the public, can take some courses too. There's some available, but I think that's, if you're asking where municipalities are going, that's the direction we're going. Education.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
I think in regards to the truth and reconciliation, we do as individuals have to learn more about it. And from the council and town side, I think we have to provide more information to educate all of our staff and the council in regards to this situation. Everybody has bits and pieces, but I think there's a lot more information that's out there that can be provided to us and can be taught to us as far as the learnings and what has happened and the respect that moving forward we have to have with our neighbors.
Thanks, Gary. Daniel?
Yeah, I agree with what everybody said so far in the sense that we need to just listen, educate ourselves, educate the staff of the town, the council, the members of the community, all that stuff. We need to just create a strong relationship with the neighbors and with our nations, and work in collaboration with all of them. And I think education is the key thing here. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Brad?
Yeah, the town of St. Paul, our staff and our teams have been in some education sessions in the past, and they've gone well. And I think the plan is to continue with them and keep trying to learn and follow this process. And just, it's a journey. It's not a process, that's the wrong word. It really is a journey. And everybody's in a different spot. There was an event held here at the church for Every Child Matters. And for me personally, it was tough. We wear our council hats everywhere we go. But that one there with my family was just more, it wasn't about being a council member. It was just about being a person and understanding, because, we don't really understand. Like I don't, I've never been in that situation. So for me personally, it was a challenging night in my house with my little kids, and but it's a journey, and that's the road that I want to take. And I want the town and the community to be on board, and they have been. We've worked very well with our neighbors, and I want to continue to do so and recognize them and just continue on. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And Sid?
I agree with Norman, Dwight, and Daniel. just be kind to everyone. That's what I think. Everyone is same, equality. And if it's indigenous, just stand with everyone. Open your heart. You know what? Everyone needs love. We need love. Just be with it and be happy. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sid.
You're welcome.
This next question, and this one came up in the forum last night. I just have to read it here. Where to go? Should council commit to transparency by continuing to live stream council meetings and making recordings available for viewing past the pandemic? And for this one, I'll start with Nathan.
Thank you so much. As many people know, live streaming was, of course, one of the key platforms for my previous election 4 years ago. And I miss saying this on the inclusion question, which is that is one of the #1 ways that we can be more inclusive to our community. Live streaming allows people to see the meeting, see this debate when it suits them. I've listened to council debates for the county or for other municipalities while listening to earbuds and laying with my child. That is what transparency is. Of course, I am committed to staying with it. I hope that each candidate will pledge to vote to keep this, because I tried for 2 years to get this passed and it failed. And this was actually only implemented because of COVID. And so it is imperative that we all take a pledge to continue live streaming from day one, not day 2, not year 2, not year 3. From day 1, live streaming must continue, and I will fight for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron.
I have no problem supporting live streaming for the residents who would like to, who could not possibly come to the town office in order to listen to that publicly. However, for council, I feel that it's more effective if we are in person for council meetings. But as far as the public is involved, I believe live streaming would be acceptable on my behalf. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
No, I'm in favor of the live stream meetings. I think we've had a very good response of people attending it. The numbers we can get from Jaeger, but I think our numbers are up quite a bit from what we had when we were just in council. Unless we had a special group coming in, there usually wasn't too many people there other than the media. And this just gives everybody a chance to see what is happening in our community, in their community, in our council meetings. But I agree with Ron, our council meetings, I would love to see them back in the council chambers and live stream from there out.
Thanks, Gary. Daniel?
I agree with what everybody said so far, 100%. It gives the people a chance to watch who maybe can't make it there or don't have the time to make it there, where they can watch it at a later time. It also keeps the council members accountable for anything they said they were going to do, and accountability. I'm 100% for the transparency in the live streaming. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Brad?
Yeah, you know what, absolutely. I want to get back into council chambers, and my plan would be to continue live streaming when we're all in there. And I think it would change the way council reacts to, because talking to each other through computer screens can be challenging. But I think to give the citizens the opportunity to listen in and watch our meetings is valuable. Just to circle back to some of what Nathan said, our council had a list of priorities. And you know what, they were from the community. So it's not personally I was ever against and wanted to defeat those motions, but we had, we reached out to the public, we did community surveys, and we had sort of a list of what we were going to tackle based on priorities and what we were hearing in the community. So myself, I've never been against it. I think it's a great tool, and we should definitely continue to do so. I just think COVID changed the way we do business. We had to adapt, and that really forced our hand to doing it. And looking back, like it's never been an issue for me. Personally, it's challenging to talk to all you guys through a computer. But I appreciate the method of getting it out there. And I think that's important. And to further that, I would even, make sure it's on our YouTube and it's up there fast and it's online fast and it doesn't take 2 months to get down there. Like I would definitely take that pledge to continue on this way. It's a positive for our community to know what we're talking about and what we're discussing. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Norm. Oh, sorry, Sid. Sorry, I gotta go in order. Sid.
All right.
That's okay. Thanks, Brent. I agree with Nathan here 100%. I love live streaming. I'll go with favorite. Why? Because if we take any responsibility, we should face it. And if it goes live to public, they can see us live and they know what we are doing. So why not? I agree with this. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Norm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Well, I believe in giving credit where credit is due, and I do want to thank Councillor Taylor for pushing live streaming when we were on council. It is very important. Unfortunately, like Councillor Eamon said, just at the time did not fit the budget and did not fit the priorities of the people. But I am 100% in favor of live streaming. But I do believe that we do have to meet as a council back in council chambers and bring that back in play. And I would pledge definitely to continue with live streaming.
Okay, thanks, Norm and Dwight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what? I can remember the question of transparency last election. What different ways can we be more transparent? But it took COVID to allow us to use technology up to the full capacity that it could be in this instance. At the school board, we used it. We used it for school councils. We noticed absolutely an increase in people participating. So there's no question about it. It absolutely works. It is something that should continue. And I'm definitely in favor of that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dwight. Next question. What could the town be doing more to help with the homeless population around St. Paul? And for this one, I'll start with Brad.
You know what, that's another good, tough question that is hard to summarize in 2 minutes. So, you know what, I think I've heard from a lot of community members lately, and one thing I would probably like to suggest is really put a community group together in partnership with the town, AHS, get some of these outsider people involved, get some of these groups at the table, because at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot of funding and a lot of partnerships to make this work. So I think the first step for us would be really putting a community group together with various stakeholders and really starting to push this and find where we can be effective. I mean, because that's really what it is. I mean, it's one thing to say, what do we do? Where do we go? But we have to put a plan in place, and we have to get the right stakeholders at the table and really get an understanding of how we can work with these people and make them comfortable in our community, because it breaks my heart. It's sad. But it takes a lot of work. We need a lot of wraparound services. And there's a lot of moving parts with AHS right now. So, but it is something that I think we should move forward with that community group and just start working and advocating. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Sid?
I think we should find a reason why first, why it's happening, and to get the partners in place to resolve it. Like find affordable housing. They need help. They need love. They are human. So I think it's possible. We can make it happen and do some possible way to fix it, That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Norm, any comment?
I would agree with Councillor Eamon and Sid. We have to engage the community. We need to get our church groups, our service groups, AHS, and the town involved and work towards a solution. I know I've seen projects in other communities and I wish we could do it here. And I know if we got a group together, we could do it. Be it from pod type shelters to being able to treat these people, because everybody deserves to be treated with dignity. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight?
Yes, very good question. Very a very important situation. The idea of working together in different community like community groups, absolutely, provincial groups, all coming together to provide something. In fact, we've been having discussions about this, and one of the things was, for example, a shelter of some kind, but this shelter needs to be a full service shelter where you have short-term, long-term stays, perhaps addiction counseling. You just need to be able to work together with different bodies that provide these kinds of things, because if they have somewhere to go, this could possibly also, create less other issues in the community. So it is definitely something to look at and to follow through on. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan?
Thank you. I think that a lot of the problems around homelessness have to deal with mental health. And as I said in my introduction speech, this is an area that interests me, but I will be completely honest, I am only barely dipping my toe into the waters of mental health. The men's mental health support group is meant for not the most in need. It's meant for the early intervention and for early care for people. But we need that deeper water commitment. We have a wonderful mental health department in St. Paul that serves not only our town, but the region. And with that, we need to stop thinking of St. Paul as a small town. We need to think of ourselves in a larger context, because mental health and the people that we support with mental health are not just from the town, they're from the region. Dwight was absolutely right that the wraparound services, I had thought at one point that an overnight shelter, not adding to the women's shelter, that's separate, but creating a new one was the position that we needed to do. I've been told by people in the mental health profession, that's not what we need. What we need is the transitional housing that after they've had the care in the hospital, to transition them and keep them going to those services, taking their medication and supporting them after the emergency care. That's why many communities from, it started in New York, but Medicine Hat, Edmonton, Calgary, housing first is their solution for homelessness. You house them and then you get them the mental health services. And that needs to be the goal that we're trying to achieve. How we do that is the responsibility of council to start digging into it, to work with the mental health support teams, because it is now becoming a municipal responsibility. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron?
This question is twofold. The first area is the affordable housing. We used to have an active committee that was looking after affordable housing, but due to grants shortages, they haven't been active as they would like to be. The second one is, as Danny White indicated, was when we had a whole bunch of houses that at one time downtown was had a lot of buildings that were empty. We had discussed having a shelter for available for these people, but where we were running into issues was the staffing, the operating expenses, the medical issues, and so we ran into those areas. But definitely, it's some that we have to still keep on looking at, keep on addressing to the council.
Thanks, Ron. Gary?
I agree with Ron and Brad, especially on this one. I think that we did have it in the past, but I think it got put off to the side a little bit. And I think what we have to do is get back out there and engage the community, find out exactly what we are looking at, the possibilities of properties that are available to build something like this. And then putting together, you got to put together a full plan. You've got operating budgets and everything else that have to come into it. Looking at grants that are available, whether, from the provincial governments. But I think we have to start by engaging in the community. That's the biggest thing. The community groups, especially. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. And on this, Daniel.
I agree with Councillor Taylor on this in the sense of it being a part of mental health, and we need to look at that to start. We definitely need to look at permanent long-term solutions that make sense for the community. With that being said, not just from ourselves as council, but use the other groups in the community to bring us to that right direction, including like the nursing, the RCMP, municipal enforcement, kind of use everybody to our advantage to come up with the best solution here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Danny. Next question is again directed at everybody regarding crime in town. What tools are at the disposal, and what would you like to see done as a counselor to help reduce crime in St. Paul? I will direct this question first to, who haven't I done for a while here? We'll go Danny first this time.
Can you just repeat that for me, Brent, please?
Sure. Regarding crime in St. Paul, what tools are at the disposal of town council, and what would they like to see done to help reduce crime in our town?
Okay. On this topic, I'm not very familiar with it. I guess over on my side of town, everything from what I see and where I am has been okay. So I haven't heard much from the rest of town or any citizens that way. But just using our, I guess, first and foremost, our peace officers, and then using them throughout the day. I understand the RCMP are overwhelmed with different things like inside, outside the community, but just using what we have kind of at our disposal would be a good start there. Thank you.
Sorry, am I muted, Brad?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And you know what? At the end of the day here, oh geez, I'm just drawing a blank. No, you know what? The biggest thing I have to tell everybody, and it's frustrating as all heck because I've been on the phone with the RCMP, but we have to drive home the fact to our residents that we have to call in to the RCMP. You see somebody suspicious, we got to call it in. All these metrics are tracked. You know, we see them. If the RCMP send them to us, we get updates. We see what's happening. The RCMP see this, and it helps us put boots on the ground. And I think that's the biggest thing. Secondly, you know what? I forget the name of it, and that's where I was drawing a blank. But this council has worked very hard to be proactive and try to eliminate some of the issues we've had. Like this council has had a house condemned. You know, we have done well and tried to move some of these guys out. I mean, it is a mental health issue, it's an addictions issue, but at the end of the day, we need to keep our residents safe. And you know, we've worked hard, and it's an ongoing battle with some of the courts. You know what? They go in, they go out. There's challenges, and I mean, there's a lot of challenges. It's mental health, you name it. You know, this council has hired security, you know, to try to alleviate some of the concerns of our residents. It's a challenge for sure, and it's one that's going to continue to be so, because we don't have any ability as counselors to control the judges and getting these people mental health when they're released. It just seems like, you know, the resources are just lacking provincially, and unfortunately it gets downloaded to the town, and it's the town's problem. And I mean, it's something we need to continue to look at. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Sid.
Okay. There are many challenges our town is facing. This is one of the issue is this crime. Why these things become so bad? What is being done to address this situation? We are all aware crime is a problem in St. Paul, and yes, RCMP is doing best job they can. However, perhaps there is more ways we can do, such as behavior. St. Paul citizen, everyone heard about it. It was a part. But based on personal experience, need an even greater commitment for residents willing to serve additional sets of eyes, ears, and assist RCMP in their efforts to keep these crime rate down. In other words, we could possibly improve the local fight against crime is to encourage more back alley cleanup, cameras on Main Street. Things can be done. Thank you. Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Sid. Norm.
Thank you, Brent. I agree with Councillor Eamon and Sid on one of the comments they made. I know we had our peace officers attend a course, and basically that course involved going into an area and looking at potential things that were, example, a dark alley, what things that would promote crime. And basically we have to get them more time to allow them to reach out to the business community and the residents to have talks with them and show them things that they can do. May it be a store with stacked cases in the front of it so no one can see inside it. Getting those cases moved so people can see inside, that deters, again, a thief from going into that building. The other thing we have to do as a council is we have to look at lobbying. I know the province basically has been overwhelmed with the crime issue, and we have to keep lobbying them to get them to do something. I seen an article example in Smoky Lake where a fellow was caught, released, and the same day he actually was caught again and released from doing the crimes. So we have to look at a system that works better than that, because we can't have a catch and release type system. We have to get to be able to get these people into the system and be able to get them the help that they really need. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Dwight.
Yeah, I think this goes back also to possibly your discussions that we were talking about with local focus groups and things like that in dealing with the issues of the community, and talking about how to deal with that, you know, and what ways can we get that support that we need to provide the support they need to better themselves. And so I think looking at that, getting people, as it's been mentioned, you know, educated in the sense that, hey, we're all working at this together and we can all make this community better together. And if we can do that, man, this is going to be an awesome place. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Nathan.
So crime prevention isn't something that's a goal to achieve and then we're done. It's something that we're going to be continuing to work on, and it's something that this council has worked on. The program that was referred to as CEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design, and that was a good program. There's other small things, and I'm going to start with the small ones. Youth Council went out and did graffiti cleanup, because we know that if graffiti is left on walls, it becomes a place where criminals know we're not watching. So by cleaning it up, it tells them, don't stand here, don't wait here, don't congregate here, because we keep this community clean. Those are the little things. Behind the scenes, we've done things like funding more clerical staff for the RCMP, which gets officers out back onto the street. We've also done a lot of lobbying, because there was a point in time when people were serving weekend sentences in our detachment. and they were coming from out of our community and from further regions. And Maureen Miller's leadership on this has been fantastic to question that and say, those people need to be serving time in their communities, because we are paying for municipal police officers. And when they serve time on weekends, an officer has to stay at the detachment in case of emergencies. Well, that prevents him from being on the street. Municipally funded officers are not wardens for a prison. We do not pay for the justice system. That's not our responsibility. And so for the excellent leadership that's happened, we've been pushing to say, don't let this happen. We need those officers back out on the street. So there are lots of things that are going on in the background that often aren't necessarily talked about, but that is happening. This town has also, as alluded to, we've paid for private security, and we chose not to go that way, but we have increased municipal enforcement by 30%. And I got to say, with that comes a massive amount of experience that I realized how valuable it is. There was an email sent to council this week or last week about, encouraging officers, and maybe there was talk of asking officers to prosecute or charge somebody, and asking, rather than jail time, but asking the judge for a deferred prosecution, specifically for treatment. I didn't even know those things were possible. So the experience that's brought is fantastic, and we're working on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. Ron.
I had that topic in my closing comments, so I'll bring it up now. Regarding crime and vagrancy is an outgoing concern, and both the RCMPs and our peace officers are doing their very best to curtail crime. They are continually looking at various programs, which Nathan had talked about some of them, to assist in addressing this issue. When we get reports from Trevor Katowicz, who's the Director of Emergency Services, they do have some suggestions that they are trying to implement at that time. They tried going back to, I saw they went back to bike on patrol, and they have numerous others that they are currently looking at to implement. So I think as a challenge to the new council coming up, I think this will be always on an ongoing basis that we have to address. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. And the last word on this to Gary.
Well, I think everybody just about said everything in regards to this. Definitely, Brad, what you said as far as to phone in and report, let the RCMP know. They aren't going to be able to do anything if our citizens don't do that. They can't report to something that is not reported. The stats that we get from them are pretty well. They tells us the story anyways, is what's happening in our community. Biggest thing is the RCMP, for them to do their job and for our bylaw enforcement. We did have the addition of one more person, which is, I believe, has helped out quite a bit, just as extra patrols in our community. And basically, take a look at the meetings that have taken place over this year and previous years between the mayor and the staff sergeant to go over concerns of our citizens and concerns of the council. They are brought back to us, and for us to review, and hopefully with that coming from about the RCMP and the staff sergeant have implemented a few other things in our area that we didn't have before, and let's hope that they continue to do so and make this a safer place for all of us to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. So it's 8:30. We've gone through quite a few questions. There are more, but we have a timeline. So we're going to move to allow you guys to give a closing statement. Just a reminder, it's 2 minutes. We'll go in reverse order. So our first person up will be Sid.
Thank you for giving me a chance first, Brent. Thank you so much for supporting me and loving me. Together, we can and we will make a difference. Go vote. Let's do something good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid.
You're welcome.
Brad.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Steinmeier, for putting this on and hosting us. And also a big thank you to the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce and to iTech Solutions for hosting this forum tonight. You know what, Councillor Dumasak, it has been a pleasure serving with you the last 4 years. All the best to you and your family. Fellow candidates, I respect each and every one of you. To put your name forward to serve your community is a serious challenge. And putting yourself out just for election isn't easy at all. So fellow councillors, you know what, where did the last 4 years go? It's been fast. I truly appreciate every one of you and what you guys do for this community. It's been a great run as a council, and we work together for the greater good of our community. So thank you for the last 4 years and good luck. Our mayor, you have set the bar very high, and our Mayor Miller has held each and every one of us accountable. She made us all better people, and for that I thank her. Our town staff, there's too many of them to name, but the folks there are awesome. You know, thank you for everything you guys do behind the scenes for our town and for our people. And the residents, you know what, we have a great town. We have amazing people. We all call St. Paul home, and we all want what is best for our community, our residents, and our business. So let's keep the momentum going. And on October 18th, vote Eamon. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Daniel.
I just want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight to listen to us. And thanks to you, Brent, and the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. And also to Jagger for setting the forum up and getting my computer ready before we started. I'm just looking forward to this opportunity to represent members of this community and bring new ideas to the table. The only promise that I can make is to do my best by keeping an open mind, having open communication, and making informed decisions. So I look forward to hopefully working with you guys and talking to members of the community out there, I guess. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Gary.
I also would like to thank everybody for listening in tonight, and also to Brent, Diane, the Chamber, and iTech for putting this event on for us tonight. I am asking for your vote to be part of the next town council. I will continue to bring strong leadership, responsibility, integrity, transparency, and passion. I want to be a part of the decision-making to make St. Paul a better place to live, work, and enjoy the amenities that we have. St. Paul has so much to offer, and I'd like to see our town grow in a positive direction. With our Mayor Maureen Miller ready for another term, I would like to ask for your vote for town councillor, as I am ready and committed to serve the citizens of this great community of St. Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Ron, you're up next.
These are some of the challenges that I see that will be forthcoming for our next council. Of course, COVID restrictions for both individuals and facilities, staff working from home, continued council and committee meetings through virtual along with conferences. Hopefully that situation will be lifted in time where we'll be back to a more effective personal basis. On the MSI grant, our provincial government will be reducing our grant by 25% next year in the amount of $380,000, which will have to be addressed in next year's financial budget. The RCMPs are doing a great job for our community, and the federal government has finally reviewed their salary going back 5 years from 2016. They definitely deserve a raise. So the government is increasing their pay, and due to the retroactive pay, we may get hit with a $600,000 invoice approximately. Hopefully they will come out with a reasonable repayment schedule. This will be another budget item for next year to review. Doctor recruitment and retention. Our Mayor Maureen Miller has been doing a great job of lobbying and working with Alberta Health Services to recruit doctors for our community. From this summer to the new year, we will have 6 new doctors in place once their training is completed. Of course, recruitment of doctors is ongoing. Hospital, we will be receiving 3.5 million for renovations to the emergency section. However, in the next 4 years, we have to continue to lobby for additional renovation funds or a new hospital. The industrial park, this is my pet peeve. In the next 4 years, town council should look at developing an industrial park, depending on financing, of course. The town has to position themselves to have an industrial lots available to interested parties once the economy improves itself. This is all part of growth. We continue to have a great working relationship with our neighboring municipalities. We have.
Don, I'm gonna have to cut you off there just to keep it fair. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Nathan, you're up next.
Thank you, Brent. And thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and everyone who's been here watching. This has been an opportunity for me to share my vision for our community. And some of the notes I've written, I guess one of the added comments I wanted to make on the commitment of time is that the number one ability for me to provide time for the community in serving has been given to me by my wife. And my family. But my wife has done an amazing job of taking care of our kids, supporting me in doing this because she knows how much of a passion municipal government is to me. It's interesting to me that we didn't get into the other area that I find fascinating and I absolutely enjoy, which is budgets and finances. There is, in my opinion, no account that is too small to consider. And there's been recommendations that I've had for saving $1,800, like changing LEDs in the industrial park sign and putting solar panels, because we spend $1,800 a year on electricity there. And so finding efficiencies is another passion for me. This next council has a wonderful opportunity. They will be leading us out of the pandemic. And we need a council that's looking past the next few weeks and the next few months. We need a council that's preparing our community for the next 40 years. With almost a decade of experience in municipal government, I think I've demonstrated that I have the skills to guide our community into this. For more information, please join me on my website, nathantaylor.ca. Reach out to me on Facebook, ask any questions you have. And please, we've got lawn signs if you want. And on October 8th, which is advanced voting day, which I encourage people to use, or on October 18th, I ask you to add Nathan Taylor to your ballot. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Nathan. Dwight, over to you.
Yes, I also want to thank the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce, iTech Solutions, and you who are watching this excellent town candidate forum. So the three targeted areas that I spoke about was safer communities, embracing multiculturalism, and economic development, which I wanted to elaborate a little bit more because I wanted to say to our town council currently, I was very happy to see the fact that the development of the St. Paul Elk Point Economic Development Committee took place. We do need to consider out of the box thinking in hopes of attracting industry and business to our community, which will not only benefit St. Paul, but also bring new people here into the area. I really commend every one of you who are stepping up and are running for town council. You've noticed throughout the evening that there's a vast array of knowledge. We have 9 people running for 6 positions, and on either October 8th or 18th, you can vote for 6 people you believe will work together to better our community here in the future. One of the things that I noticed was in the past few elections, we have had less than 40% voter turnout. And I would really like to make an appeal to the 60% of you who don't usually vote, and especially to our brand new voters this year. Municipal representation is as grassroots as it gets and has a direct impact on the way we live here in our community. So please, we need to hear from you. Your vote really could make a difference. Let your vote count in the direction your town of St. Paul will take here in the next 4 years and beyond. Make it an event with your family and friends, and I'm asking you to come out to vote on either October 8th or 18th. Tomorrow is looking great, and I want you to be a part of it. Vote Dwight Weeb October 8th or 18th for equality and honesty. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. And Norm.
Well, I hope it's said to be true that they saved the best for last. Anyway, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce, first of all, for hosting this event. Brent, Diane, Cindy done an amazing job, and I thank Jagger at iTech for making us look good on screen here. I also want to take the time to thank the citizens of St. Paul who took the time tonight to listen to us, because you need to make an informed decision, and I hope that by listening to us tonight, you will be able to make that informed decision. I'd be honored to serve the citizens of St. Paul for another term, and I look forward to continue to make a difference in our community. I want to thank a few people while I'm up right now. I'd like to thank, first of all, our professional staff that we have at the town of St. Paul, because without them, we'd look like a bunch of buffoons, really. They keep things together for us. They're amazing. And I'm being truthful about that. They do some amazing things, and sometimes they don't get the credit that they deserve. Instead, they get an earful on the phone. I also would like to thank our leadership that we've had this last term. Mayor Miller has done an incredible job of steering our ship, and I would be honored to work with her another term. And so on October 18th, a vote for Norm Noel is a vote for a solid, dependable voice on town council, moving us forward in a positive direction. Let's remember, let's keep St. Paul a people kind of place and vote for Norm Noel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Norm. And thank you to all of you tonight who were able to be here. And thank you for putting yourself out there. It's a big step, right? And we need leaders like you. So very much appreciated. Thank you to everyone who did watch. This will be available for viewing, definitely on the iTech Solutions site. We're doing our best to get it onto the town site, and we will also be doing our best to get it onto the chamber site. So check those places. If you recommend us to phone a friend, recommend us to a friend. Fantastic 3 hours of viewing. Maybe we'll make it to Netflix even, I'm not sure. But I would like to thank Jagger very much for his work in helping us stream this. And a big thank you goes out to Diane from the chamber and Cindy, one of our directors who is here helping in the background. Couldn't do it without them. And we can't do it without the voters. So get out on the 18th and vote, vote, vote. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.